Serbia's president has now accused Australia of political persecution, and Australia's ambassador to Serbia has been hauled into a meeting with the country's foreign minister. The world number one will have to wait until Monday to make his case in court for reinstating his visa as the throng of supporters and protesters grow outside the detention hotel where he's being held.
Out on the street, Serbians are singing in the rain. Inside the Park Hotel, the world number one starts day 2 as a detainee. A sleepless night for Novak and the more than 30 refugees detained at the facility, advocates taking advantage of the global attention to call for their release. Djokovic's loyal fans alongside them, keeping vigil beneath his window. In Serbia, the Djokovic family rages over Australia's treatment of the tennis ace.
Novak je Serbia, a Serbia je Novak. Oni gaze Novaka, a samim ti gaze I Srbiju I srpski narod.
Rallying outside the Serbian parliament building, they accuse the Australian government of trying to crucify Novak and bring him to his knees.
They are keeping him as a prisoner. It's just not fair, it's not human.
Mr Djokovic is not being held captive in Australia. He is free to leave at any time that he chooses.
Federal authorities prepare to fight Djokovic's appeal as the diplomatic tension caused by the visa cancellation shows no signs of cooling. Scott Morrison yesterday produced a letter sent to Tennis Australia last November informing organisers of the criteria required for a vaccine exemption to enter Australia. But the Victorian government says it never saw the note. Its role was to assess if Djokovic was eligible for a vaccine exemption. The rest falls on federal authorities.
That was correspondence between the Commonwealth Government and Tennis Australia. I'm advised that the Victorian Government or members of the Victorian Government hadn't seen that correspondence.
The Immigration Minister could intervene on the case. Djokovic could also be granted a bridging visa while the matter is sorted. But law experts say both options are unlikely, as it seems Djokovic is being held in detention as an example of Australia's tough stance on borders.
You know, Djokovic is not a risk to the Australian community in terms of other than he is unvaccinated. So, you know, it doesn't really make logical sense for him to be in there.
A situation, she says, applies to 30 other men held at the Park Hotel. Upstairs from Djokovic is 24-year-old Mehdi, a recognised refugee from Iran.
Quite a few people that they've been messaging me and they've been saying that we did not know about your circumstances until we found out Djokovic is here.
Detained for almost a decade awaiting resettlement, he hopes as the world watches Novak's days in detention, they consider the years he's lost inside of these walls.
And most of the guys here are looking forward for that. So if he's going to speak out about us, the whole world is going to know what's going on.
Djokovic will argue his case in court on Monday.
And reporter Abby Dinham joins us now live from in front of the hotel where Novak Djokovic is being held in Melbourne. Abby, good evening to you. As we heard repeatedly, the government saying Novak has not been singled out, but we hear there is continuing cause for tension in Belgrade.
That's correct, Anton. Serbia's Foreign Secretary has called in Australia's ambassador to the country to lodge a verbal complaint. Now, Daniel Emery had to attend to hear the complaint. It's believed among some of the demands for the treatment of Novak is that he be moved to a nicer hotel. As we know, he's being held at the Park Hotel, alternative place of detention behind me. This facility has become infamous for its COVID outbreaks. It houses upwards of 30 refugees, and the conditions in which they have been living for over a year have been well publicised.